Hello on a cold windy day in the north of England. I've dressed up so I'm back into Scotland in the winter, but it's a good day to come inside and do some stitching. And I'd like to have a quick review of what we've already done. So Richard, if you could just move the camera down onto the actual piece, and I'll show you that we have worked the top and rolled this scroll frame and revealed the lower edge of the piece. And I've worked the laid work, the couched work here, and the closed fly stitch, and where I ran out of colour I just changed to another colour. So I've shifted from dark green to pale green there. If you move up to the other area, and you'll see that there's a much softer green through to grey, back to the same green, and then a stem stitch in the same colour. I've worked the snowflakes, and now I'm moving down to the lowest area. I'm actually just going to take that mane off there. I just left that on because I thought it would look rather nice. I'm leaving the unicorn till last of all because my friend Meredith Willett is going to show some turkey work for the mane and tail. Actually, just come back up a little bit, Richard, to show the unicorn, please. On the unicorn, I've used the white thread, or you can use a pale thread like this. And of course, I'm going to really run out of that colour. So I've been very generous in the way I've used it with a double thread. So I'm thinking, this is my planning, that I'm going to use some grey and make this a sort of dapple grey here. So detached fly stitch over the rear end of the horse, down over his shoulder, up round his neck, and then use the white for the unicorn horn, and then lots of different colours for the mane and for the tail. And I'm going to leave it so that I'm going to stitch in crewel stem stitch over the work I've already done with lines representing the tail. And then I'm going to use turkey work, which Meredith is going to teach me how to do. And I'm going to have lots and lots of hanging threads, which is going to be irresistible for any child to trim, but I think it could be quite fun. So having done all that and made a plan, we're now going to move on to the long and short soft shading at the toe down here. Now, this is actually something that people are very nervous about. So I actually have stitched another one earlier to show you. If you could just show the entire stocking there, Richard. I've been working this on the seat frame. This was the original one I did. And if you look at the long and short stitch at the base, this is very typical of crewel work, where I've run out of thread by the time I get to the base, and I've actually gone green to a sort of mauvey purple into a deeper purple. I've worked pale green into dark green, which is a very classic mix, yellow, green, darker green, another classic mix, and a sort of fawny pink down through the colours. And you'll see, if you're using one of my wool packs that we've sent out, you'll see that that's a very typical mix, that you might have different reds, that you've got a pale colour, a white or an off-white for the unicorn, or a bit of both, and pinks and greens and maybe some blues and greys and yellows. So nobody has all the colours, but I'd like to show you what you can do to mix the colours through. So two colours that would go really well together for soft, long and short soft shading would be, for example, this rather pewtery grey green and this mauvey colour, and that's a gorgeous mix. You could mix those two together in long and short soft shading without any worries at all. Same, you could go down through the colour story of the pale to the dark green. But if you look at this pinky purpley colour and the green, those work beautifully, and would be really an unusual thing, but they mix very well. And the reason for that is that they're the same strength, they're the same depth of colour. You wouldn't want a very pale pink and a very dark green, because that would look rather dramatic. So we'll just go back to looking at this one, and I'll just take the frame off to show you. These videos are going to get a little bit longer now because we're really getting into the proper area where we can get on with it and finish maybe 2 or 3 of these, hopefully. So you can see with this, you work from the background to the foreground. So we've worked the background laid and couched work, foreground tree, and the unicorn is last of all. So that you look at the hummocks, I've worked this one first, which is in the far background, then this one, and then these two, and then I'm going to work this one and this one. So if we look at the design here, you can see that this area here, I'm just drawing on in pencil, which won't shift, just an HB pencil, and I'm going to mark it out so that I can do the long and short soft shading. When we do our kits, we always draw this in for you, but I'm presuming you're doing this yourself at home. So that will be your first stitch, and then you'll draw in a 3/4 length, long, 3/4, long, 3/4. And if you look, I'm actually taking up far big an area of the hammock. If you look at this one, are we going to go the same way up? Yes, that's always a good idea. There's always a plan to make it look similar. It's the pinky one here that I'm working. So although I've drawn the stitches on this deep, this is the area you're going to stitch in this first colour. So this first colour here goes all the way underneath. If I can have a little dig around, you'll see that that stitch comes up from here, which is down here. So just draw them on like that. And then don't be bullied by the next door area. Don't get shorter and shorter, because actually the perspective is that this will go behind this one. So this colour carries on, you can see here, goes in behind all the way across. Okay, so I'm going to start with this first colour, and I'm going to choose a colour. What should we go for, Richard? Have you got any clues?
I like your blues, you see.
You like the blues? Oh, okay. We have a little bit of a problem there, because there's a big jump from that blue to this blue.
It's got a lot of blue anyway, isn't it?
It has got a lot of blue, but I'm not going to be put off by that. We could have a cream colour above it, but the leap from that cream to that blue again is quite big. What about I go through a paley green colour? Still, it's a bit too much of a jump there, I'd say. We've got this one. Sorry, I'm having to divide it off. I don't like doing that. What about that for a mix? So pale, slightly deeper, slightly deeper. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Or
it's up to you.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's up to
you.
It's up to whoever's
you know
choosing.
about music. But, right. Okay. So what about those three? Because that's a stronger colour than that, but just slightly. Do we like that? You don't like that?
I'm not saying anything.
Well, I think we need an opinion here, because there'll be lots of people at home thinking, am I right, am I wrong? Basic thing is, it's not really right or wrong. That's the point. Just needs to go a little bit deeper.
Well, look, it's a bit like if I put a clarinet with a flute, what kind of sound is it going to make? So,
well,
what do you like?
I think you just have to try it. I think we just have to... Oh,
that's the dog. That's the dog.
The dog didn't like it. That's a dog leaping because she thought she might be having a chance of a walk. But Bella, I'm sorry, darling, but you're going to have to wait a bit longer. So what do we think? Where did we go with this? I've forgotten now. Too dark. Maybe go back to that then. About that. I think that's rather good. Let's go for that. Happy?
Okay.
Because it's pale, middle colour, and then darker. So I'm going to start with this colour, and I'm going to start with a double thread. So again, take it to your elbow and fold it all the way back again. Now, unusually, I found a little knot in this, so I'm going to snip it out. And you'll see that usually I lose my scissors, but today I'm both wearing a pair of scissors around my neck, and I've got a pair of scissors to my side, so it's jolly useful. And I'm actually using a Lowry stand here, which we have on our website. We don't sell very many because I don't really use them very many. I don't really make a song and dance about it. But if I'm using a slate frame or a roll frame, that would be my preferred option, is to have actually two if it's a very big frame. And I'm going to do an enormous piece later in the month, which I'll use two Lowry frames and a huge long slate frame in the middle. I can see the dog's brought her leader, Richard, to show you what she thinks of not doing very much exercise today. Of course, she's been with us so much recently. She's used to me going away a lot, and normally when she sees me packing boxes, it means I'm going off to a show or off to do some touring and teaching. And she's learned through me being at home that actually packing things means that I'm packing orders and I'm going off to the post office, or we're going out for a walk after. So now I'm very roughly stitching this in, and I can see already that my frame isn't really tight enough, and I really should actually tighten it like that from either side. I've just moved it, and I need to lace it at the sides, but I'm not going to stop this film for the sake of that. So I'm stitching long and 3/4 stitches, and you can just do this really quickly and just use the point of your needle to move the last stitch across and get your stitches as close together as you can. So these marked lines, they're not how many stitches you put in, they're just the length of the stitches. And I'm just going to finish off my thread because I've run out by putting in a couple of little stitches. Oops, came out the same stitch, that's a coincidence. And then pop out the top and snip that off. Oh, the sun's come out, how lovely.